You can't supplement your way out of a poor diet. But supplementation, especially when paired with other natural strategies that reduce inflammation in the body, can support the body and help kiddos with ADHD thrive. And today I want to share about one of my favorite, but very rarely talked about. Welcome to the Soaring Child podcast, where parents of children with ADHD learn tips and tricks to help their child soar at home, at school, and in life. We feature interviews with experts, medical professionals, and parents just like you who are learning how to reduce ADHD symptoms using food and other natural strategies. Because children with ADHD deserve to soar just like every other child. I'm Dana Kay, your host. What if I told you there is a natural supplement that could sharpen focus, balance emotions, and boost executive function, all without the nasty side effects of medication? And I bet at least 99.9% of you listening today have not even heard of it. Sounds like a dream, right? Well, I want to say, there's no such thing as a magic wand to make ADHD symptoms disappear completely. There are supplements that can make a big impact, especially when paired with other natural strategies. And today we're talking about one that shows some pretty mind-blowing results. Hello, parents, and welcome back to another edition of the Soaring Child podcast. I'm your host, Dana Kay. Now, I wonder, do you wish you could find a supplement that could be as effective as medication at reducing ADHD symptoms? If you've ever wished for something like this, you're definitely not alone. That is how I definitely felt years ago when trying to help my son with ADHD. Back then, I'm sure you guys have heard me talk about it. Every single day felt like a war zone in our house, and I'd wake up, every morning already exhausted, and I just was constantly bracing myself for the fights that we had ahead on that day, and simple requests would turn into full-blown meltdowns, slam doors. We had tears, screaming, hitting even, and me wondering what I was doing wrong. It got so bad that I dreaded even getting out of bed. And I'm sure if you're listening today that you've had a moment like that. Have you ever felt that way? Like that deep inner sort of exhaustion, that sort of sense of, like, I don't know, helplessness, just praying for something, anything that would bring back that peace into your home. It's awful. It's such a hard place to be. And back then, before we learned how to reduce my son's ADHD symptoms, I was absolutely desperate for that magic pill. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I wanted that magic pill that was going to fix our home. And honestly, when my son was finally diagnosed with ADHD and then prescribed his first medication, methylphenidate, I thought we actually found it. Things at first were a little bit okay, but then, only a few weeks later, the side effects began. Okay. It was so bad that he ended up on 3 medication. Only one of those was for his ADHD, and the rest, and the fourth that the doctor wanted us to add in, were only to counteract the side effects. Finally I said, like, enough. Medication was not working for our family. Now, I say it all the time. I'm not against medication. There is definitely a time and place for it. But I just knew deep down that 4 strong medications in my son, who was only 5 years old at this time, many of them giving him significant side effects, not being able to sleep, losing weight. He was a shell of himself. He was so anxious, it wasn't the right thing for us. So that's when I started researching natural strategies. But, I still wanted that one pill, honestly. That one supplement that was going to be that miracle cure. It did take me a long time to realize that as long as my son's body was inflamed, and I was still feeding my son foods that were highly inflammatory, there was not going to be that miracle cure or pill. I had to start by cleaning up his diet, reducing the inflammation in his body, helping that gut brain connection. But then once I did that, once I changed our diet, reduced his toxic load, target that gut brain connection and put in, place some strategies or other natural strategies, I started seeing that there were some supplements that were really super helpful for him. But here's the truth. You can't supplement your way out of a poor diet. But supplementation, especially when paired with other natural strategies that reduce inflammation in the body, can support the body and help kiddos with ADHD thrive. And today I want to share about one of my favorite, but very rarely talked about, supplements that can support kids with ADHD. Okay, so what's this game-changing supplement I'm talking about? I bet you haven't heard of it. I'd actually love to hear from you listeners. I'd love you to send me a PM on Instagram. My handle is ADHD Thrive Institute. If you've heard of this, it's called Zembrin. Zembrin. Okay, I have to spell it out because of my accent. I know. It's a powerful plant extract from a South African succulent that's been used for centuries to boost mental clarity, to balance emotions, to reduce stress. But here's what makes Zembrin different. It's not just some random herbal supplement. It has been clinically studied. It's patented and it's tested. If plants had resumes, Zembrin's resume would be top notch. It'd be stacked full. What makes Zembrin so unique is that it's clinically studied and has a patented composition, meaning it's a standardized supplement, not just, a generic herbal extract. Okay. This is important because the benefits we're going to be talking about today specifically apply to this Zembrin and not just any form of the plant, which is called Scaletium tortuosum. Okay, that's, do I want to spell it out? I don't know. You guys can find it in the show notes. Okay, let's dive in. So how does Zembrin actually work? Let's break it down into sort of three super important areas, because let's be real, we don't just want to know if something works. We want to know how it helps our kids. When you know this information, you're more likely to follow through why we're doing something. It supports three key areas. And the first one is cognitive flexibility. Or in other words, the brain's ability to sort of shift and adapt. Cognitive flexibility is the ability to shift between tasks, think creatively and then adapt to a new situation. And for kids with ADHD, this can be a major challenge, whether it's switching from playtime to homework or transitioning between activities or problem solving in that moment. A study found that Zembrin significantly improved cognitive flexibility in the people in the study. It helped them adapt to new information more easily. It may also enhance multitasking abilities and help with focus when shifting between the different tasks. This is great news for our kiddos who struggle with those transitions. Switching focus or shifting from one idea to another. A second area that Zembrin can really support is a child's executive function, or I think of it like as the brain's manager. The executive function is the set of mental skills that help kids stay organized, manage their time, plan ahead, regulate their emotions. You can think of it kind of like a conductor guiding an orchestra or a band, helping kids follow directions, complete assignments, and control their impulses. So studies show that Zembrin supports key executive functions like planning, decision-making, and organization. Even a single dose has been shown to improve executive function. So for parents, this means Zembrin may help kids with organization, impulse control, and goal-directed behavior, which are all super essential for, setting them up for that success at school and for daily routines. Imagine your child actually remembering to pack their school bag without reminding them 5 times, or, starting their homework without a meltdown. That's where executive function comes in, and research shows that Zembrin helps support it. I don't know about you, but these things are, total wins for most kids with ADHD. Number 3 is stress reduction and mood support. So, Zembrin can help with stress and emotional regulation, which are two huge challenges for kids with ADHD, because ADHD impacts dopamine and serotonin levels, and many kids struggle with worry and frustration and emotional outbursts and difficulty calming down. And Zembrin has been shown to reduce stress and improve mood in clinical studies. So the research says that it may reduce stress and mild anxiety, improve mood and motivation, reduce feelings of worry and nervousness, and even help manage acute stress, like before a test or public speaking. A single dose can actually help the brain's stress response by calming the amygdala, and that's the part of the brain that reacts to, those perceived stress or threats. For kids who become easily overwhelmed, or experience sort of frequent frustration or have trouble calming down, Zembrin may offer that gentle, natural support. Now, another area that Zembrin can help with is exercise recovery. Studies have shown it can reduce muscle soreness after exercise that they're not used to. Like if you go and try and pump weights in the gym and lift something really heavy when you've never done it before, it can help to preserve range of motion after those exercises and improve mood post-exercise. Now, obviously that doesn't really affect our kids at this stage, but it could be super helpful for you. Now, at this point, you're probably wondering, okay, this sounds good, but is it safe? Are there any side effects? Because we always want to discuss the positives and the negatives. We don't want to just say, oh, this is amazing. Okay. Is this something I can actually give to my child without worrying about? And I think those are really great questions. So Zembrin has been clinically studied for safety and is GRAS certified. That means generally recognized as safe for use in foods and beverages. It's well tolerated with no major side effects reported in human studies. Safe doses, it's safe at doses 25 to 50 milligrams per day, which is within the studied range. It's available in capsules, powders, and even in functional foods like energy drinks and snack bars. But my absolute favorite way to obtain Zembrin is in a supplement called Pro Essentials. Okay, Pro Essentials is a supplement that has 3 powerhouse ingredients. Okay, so you're getting way more bang for your buck. You're not just getting Zembrin. Zembrin, obviously, the ingredient I've been telling you about today, but also it contains spore forming probiotics that reseed the gut, because we all know the gut brain connection is super important with kids with ADHD, and it also contains saffron extract. And these 3 ingredients combined make it a super powerful supplement. Now, as you might already know, as I said, there's a close link between the gut and the brain. The brain has many areas that are involved in gut function, but one of the main areas is the frontal lobe. And the frontal lobe is involved in things like, attention and focus and executive planning, executive function planning, organizing, problem solving. And these are areas that many of our kids struggle with. So, along with Zembrin, we want to ensure that gut brain connection is functioning at its best. And research shows that taking probiotics can support that gut brain connection. But the problem with a lot of probiotics is that the strains don't survive digestion. Not all probiotics are considered equal. And I've talked about this before on the podcast. You can go back and check out, Leaky Gut episode or Gut Brain Connection episode. But this is why I love Pro Essentials so much. Most probiotics don't survive digestion, but Pro Essentials does. It actually reseeds the gut. So think of like little seeds that you sprinkle in your garden to make your lawn grow. So rather than putting in strains that actually go away once the supplement is stopped, you're reseeding it so the gut can grow the good bacteria it needs to function well and to optimize the gut brain connection. Now, I'd like to share a little bit more about Pro Essentials, in particular, how it can improve microbiome health. And I don't know if I've done a podcast on explaining. Yeah, I think I've gone into detail on the microbiome, but I'm just going to go a little bit deeper into it in this episode. Now, it refers to this community of microorganisms, mainly bacteria, but also fungi, viruses, and other microbes, and they live in and on the human body. Okay, the most well-known microbiome is found in the gut. So the gut microbiome, it's found in the digestive system, and this plays an essential role in breaking down our food, absorbing our nutrients, and even synthesizing some of our vitamins. But the microbiome's impact extends far beyond digestion, and research has shown that it is so linked to the immune system. 80% of the body's entire immune system is within the gut wall. Did you know that? Emotional well-being, it supports emotional well-being and even cognitive function and behavioral traits that are often associated with ADHD. So a balanced microbiome is crucial for maintaining good health, while an imbalanced microbiome, which is referred to as dysbiosis, can contribute to a range of issues, including digestive problems, immune dysfunction, and mental health challenges. So simply put, a healthy gut microbiome can be a vital part of the strategy to naturally reduce ADHD symptoms. So now I can imagine that you might be wondering, what can I do to keep the microbiome healthy? There are actually several genes that are involved in microbiome health. And this is the one which I don't know if I've talked about before on the podcast, but there are a number of genes that support a healthy gut. We've got, I'm going to list them out for you. You can press pause and write them down if you want. But we've got GSTT1, GSTM1, GSTP1, FOOT2, SIP2R1, GC, and VDR. I know that just sounds like a lot of gobbledygook. Is gobbledygook an Australian saying, or is it a global thing? I don't know. It's a lot of words, unrecognizable words. So let's discuss. Let's start discussing by GSTT1, GSTM1, and GSTP1. Now, these genes affect our body's ability to deal with toxins before they impact the gut. And these genes are part of the glutathione S transferase, or GST family, and enzymes that are crucial in detoxifying harmful substances in the body. Okay, so we know that a lot of ADHD symptoms are exacerbated by inflammation, and toxins in the body, or that toxic load, can create that inflammation. So a lot of these genes, these ones that I'm talking about, will help excrete out those toxins. They facilitate the binding of glutathione to those toxins, making them water soluble and easier to excrete out of the body. And when these genes are functioning well, the body can, efficiently manage toxins before they cause that inflammation or a breakdown in the gut, okay? Protecting the microbiome and its critical role in our overall health. But mutations occur, okay? We might have mutations. We might have a single mutation, a double mutation, and these could affect or compromise the body's detoxification abilities, leading to an accumulation of toxins that negatively impact the microbiome. And this can have a cascade effect. It can contribute to imbalances that could exacerbate symptoms in conditions like ADHD. Now, I'm going to move on to the next gene. It's called FUT2, FUT2. And the FUT2 gene plays a significant role in the gut's ability to absorb vitamin B12 and maintain overall gut integrity. Now, this gene influences the production of certain proteins that help form the mucosal lining in the gut. It serves as a first line of defense against all of those nasties out there, those parasites, the pathogens, but they also aid in nutrient absorption. So when it comes to vitamin B12, it's really important that absorption happens properly, because it's needed for so many bodily functions, including, cognitive performance and energy metabolism, which are often areas affected by ADHD. So a properly functioning FOOT2 gene ensures that B12 is effectively absorbed in the intestinal tract, which optimizes its ability for these essential processes. This gene also impacts gut integrity by influencing the permeability of the gut lining. So, is it leaky? Is it not leaky? Okay. It helps to manage what substances are allowed to pass through. And a dysfunction in this gene could lead to compromised gut integrity, possibly resulting in leaky gut or other gastrointestinal issues that can impact nutrient absorption and overall health. Now, let's hit quickly on the 3 final genes that affect the microbiome. I know this episode has gone like really deep into the gut microbiome when it started out just with Zembrin, but I think it's important to really understand the crucial impact that gut health has on ADHD, but also the crucial need to help that gut in the long term, especially if your kiddos have genetic mutations in these particular genes. This is one of the DNA tests that we do inside our business in working with kids. We look at these genes to make sure that we can, if there are mutations, that we continue to optimize gut health longer term. So we've next got CYP2R1, GC, and VDR. Now the CYP2R1, which is CYP2R1, is instrumental in converting vitamin D to its active form, making it available for use in various processes. The GC gene is involved in vitamin D transport within the bloodstream, and the VDR gene encodes the vitamin D receptor, which is responsible for activating the vitamin D or utilizing the activated vitamin D in the body. Proper functionality of these genes ensures adequate vitamin D levels, which play a vital role in reducing inflammation and fortifying the gut lining against pathogens and other foreign substances. So I will tell you, I have double mutations in all 3 of these genes. I need to take vitamin D year round. I need to take it multiple times a day, but I will say I never take it in the evening. We have to think when we naturally get vitamin D, it's when the sun is up. So I take it 2 to 3 times a day before the sun starts setting. Because inadequate vitamin D can lead to increased inflammation and it can weaken the lining of the gut, which is particularly concerning when dealing with ADHD, as both conditions, could exacerbate the symptoms. So I know that was a little bit technical, but hopefully it makes sense. The main thing to keep in mind is that if there are mutations in these combined areas, then the person does not carry genomic factors that favor a healthy microbiome. Now, as a result, genetics may be playing a role in their poor gut health and immunity. But I will say, your genes are not your destiny. Your lifestyle, your diet, and what you do with your genes will be the thing that's more important. So it's important to continue to optimize these areas with a few natural strategies that we definitely talk about in this podcast, but in particular probiotics and diet. And that supplement I was telling you about before, Pro Essentials, is my absolute favorite probiotic because it supports the gut microbiome. And taking probiotics long term is especially crucial for those with specific genetic mutations like the ones that I talked about today. Now, these genes are fundamentally involved in detoxification processes, nutrient absorption, and the inflammatory response, all of which have a direct impact on gut health. And genetic mutations in these areas can compromise, the body's natural ability to maintain that healthy microbiome, to handle toxins, to absorb those, essential nutrients like that B12 and that vitamin D. So really important to take probiotics, consistently. This proactive approach can be a pivotal strategy in managing symptoms of ADHD. So if you have a child with genetic mutations like the ones I mentioned today, I definitely recommend a probiotic like Pro Essentials. But like I already mentioned, Pro Essentials actually contains more than just the probiotic. It contains that Zembrin. and it also contains saffron extract. Now, saffron is another herb that has shown incredible promise in supporting kids with ADHD. It can help alleviate symptoms like inattention, restlessness, and mood fluctuations by actually influencing neurotransmitters in the brain like serotonin, which is a neurotransmitter that's, crucial for mood regulation, emotional stability. It also GABA, it influences GABA, which is a neurotransmitter that calms the nervous system. Saffron also has antioxidant and anti-inflammatory properties, and it reduces oxidative stress and inflammation in the brain. All of these factors can really sort of impact cognitive function and behavior. Saffron may support improved attention and mental clarity, and the saffron in Pro Essentials, especially when paired with that spore-forming probiotics and that Zembrin, can have some pretty powerful effects, like so powerful that some parents are seeing equal efficacy to prescription ADHD medications. We were out of stock because we sold through the stock really, really quickly, and parents inside the program were like, oh my gosh, I've seen changes in my child, I need the Pro Essentials to come back in stock. These three powerhouse ingredients, they really combined together, to pack a pretty powerful punch. Now, one thing to remember, it's always best when trying any new supplement to consult with your healthcare provider, especially if your child is on medication or has existing health conditions. Whew, we've covered a lot today. We've talked about Zembrin and how especially Pro Essentials can help kids with ADHD focus better, stress less, and manage emotions more easily. But here's the thing, knowing about it isn't enough. Okay, the real magic happens when you take action. So here's what I want you to do. First of all, check the show notes for more details and grab that cheat sheet. Okay, we've been doing this series on supplements, this short, sharp series on supplements. Grab the cheat sheet from today's episode. It is your one-stop shop for all things Zembrin. And then I want you to send me a DM on Instagram, ADHD Thrive Institute, and tell me what's one takeaway you got from today's episode. I honestly love hearing from you. When you're on a podcast and you're talking to yourself, you don't know if anyone's out there listening. So I love hearing from you guys. But also one more thing, if this episode was enlightening for you or you found it helpful, please share it. ADHD families need to know they do have options, and you can help make that happen as well. If you found this episode helpful, be sure to subscribe, share it with that friend, and leave a review. It really, really helps more parents discover natural solutions for ADHD. And honestly, we need your help. Okay, the more this podcast gets shared and the more reviews we get, the more we spread the word to families that there are natural alternatives out there. So please help us today by sharing your thoughts and leaving your review. We can't do this without you. Listeners, thank you for tuning into this week's episode of The Soaring Child. I'm Dana Kay, your ADHD health practitioner. Keep on thriving. Thank you for listening to the Soaring Child podcast today. To learn more about how to help your child with ADHD soar using natural strategies, visit our website at adhdthriveinstitute.com and follow us on social media at ADHD Thrive Institute.